Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we have another shop talk video, and today I'm going to share a car story from a customer that I got here that had his car at several different shops and they just couldn't figure out the problem, and finally they brought it here. We were able to solve their issue, and we're going to be talking about a thermostat and coolant flange today. Now, before we go ahead and begin, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Definitely smash the like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's video. So I had a customer in here with a Honda recently who said that they took their vehicle to the first shop. They got the thermostat replaced as a regular maintenance and service because the car has 150,000 miles on it. And then after they got it done, about a month or two later, it was leaking and it was just dribbling and dribbling, and they took it back. They went ahead and replaced the thermostat again, and it just kept leaking. They kept on having issues. Then that shop, I guess, did like a gasket around it or something, and it was still leaking and they couldn't figure it out. And I told the customer that, you know, it needed a whole new engine block or something, or whatever the thermostat sits into. They weren't really specific, but for this particular vehicle, it doesn't go inside the engine block. It's like an extension pipe with a separate housing that is still quite expensive, even though it's not like an engine replacement. It was still pretty pricey when I looked it up when we were ordering parts for it. So, you know, it was just, they just kind of said, hey, it's not our fault, this and that, it's this. If you don't want to do it, we can't warranty anymore, and kind of wash their hands of it. So then the customer proceeded to take it to another shop that said, oh, hey, just replace the thermostat, you'll be fine, it's not sealing correctly, and we'll put some sealer in there for you. And well, let's just say it kept on leaking. And I work on this vehicle owner's brother's vehicles here at my shop. And I guess his brother said, hey, why don't you try my mechanic, take it to him, see what he says. So the backstory that I got was the housing needs to be replaced, like all of it. And that he's replaced multiple thermostats and just kept on leaking. Now, when I took it apart, this is what I was greeted by. And if anyone is very astute here, you'll see that that is black RTV silicone. Guess what? Big no-no, especially on thermostats. Someone just put a thermostat in there, it was leaking, tried sealing it up. Now, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but you can see this surface has been cleaned by some sort of grinding wheel or something. I can tell by, you know, the markings on there, which, I mean, an aluminum cover like this for a thermostat or a water outlet, whatever you want to call it, if you take any sort of grinder wheel on this, you might take out too much material and you may not have a good sealing pattern. Now, what I did on this was I have a straight edge, and I just kind of measured it, and it looked good, but the sheer fact that I would have to clean up these edges and probably grind this down a little bit, I didn't want to risk it. So I called up the customer, and I looked at everything over, and I asked them, like, hey, what kind of thermostat did they put in here? Because it looked like the seal was very flimsy. It didn't look very good. And they told me they had no idea. And I asked them if they had saved the thermostats from the first shop, and they said no. So basically no one had it. I only had a aftermarket thermostat and this cover that, you know, was, you can see, silicone and cleaned up by a grinder. So I told the customer, listen, before we go ahead and, you know, just assume that you're going to need this, you know, extravagant, expensive part from Honda, how about I order a new outlet and the original thermostat and gasket from Honda? Because if we're going to wind up doing that whole outlet, we are going to be buying a genuine thermostat and outlet anyway. So it doesn't hurt to just buy these two brand new now and do a little, you know, testing. Because I really didn't feel that where the thermostat goes into and then this bolts up to had any sort of surface defect or anything like they were stating. I had a suspicion that the gasket on the aftermarket thermostats were not doing too well, because I saw a picture of the Honda one. It looked really nice, thick and hardy, and the aftermarket ones were very skimpy. I actually went out and ordered a aftermarket one with a gasket just to kind of see, and it was a big difference. And when I got the Honda one after ordering it and I received it, I mean, there was a really big difference. So what wound up happening is the aftermarket thermostat gaskets weren't sealing correctly. They were too skinny and they didn't have enough pressure. And I'm assuming this outlet, maybe by the material that was ground off of it, Didn't really help its case either. Maybe there's some unevenness here. I'm not exactly sure. But I cleaned up all the silicone. I just used a little Scotch-Brite pad and a razor blade, scraped off any excess aluminum on the other part that was the housing that goes onto the engine. Cleaned it up, nice and perfect. I put my thermostat in there. I put my new cover without silicone, just using the gasket that Honda supplies with the thermostat. Bled up the system, filled up the coolant, and guess what? I have not had this car come back for any leaks or anything. The reason why I'm making this video and I'm sharing this story is that if you have a consistent issue with one place and they're telling you one thing, to always get a second opinion, but make sure the second opinion, you're asking the right questions. Now, I don't expect this customer to, get that detailed into this, but I mean, honestly, whoever siliconed this is a hack. Not a fan of it. I mean, I've seen stuff like this before. It leaks, just put some silicone on it or put some gasket maker. It has no place to go on a, housing like this, especially an aluminum housing. This is grounded, so there can't be some ground things that you're taking away from the engine, because right here on this prong, there's a lot of grounds that go there. And if you're putting a bunch of silicone here and then, putting this on the engine and it's not grounding to the block and only the bolts are making the ground contact, you may have electrical issues too. You'd be surprised. I've seen a lot of wacky stuff in this field before. But, the fact that a non-original thermostat was causing a leak doesn't surprise me, because I've seen this quite a lot. It's a very common thing. I always urge people, if you're replacing, components like thermostats and things that, can be a little difficult to replace, or they have a very long service life, you don't want to just buy the $10 or $15 part off the shelf. Spend the money, get the genuine part so you don't have any issues, or get the next to best thing next to the genuine one if you can't quite afford the original one. Now, an aftermarket thermostat for this vehicle was about 10-15 bucks. The Honda one, I think it was about $80, but it came with the gasket. I know a lot of people will say I could buy, 7 thermostats for that price aftermarket, but they don't fit, they don't seal correctly. So, at the end of the day, you'd be wasting your money. You're better off just buying the original part. Now, a lot of you might say maybe this had something to do with it. To be honest with you, I wasn't going to clean this up and try to reuse it and have to redo the job. So I went with the new outlet and that. So maybe this is a little crooked. Maybe they took off too much on one side. Thing is, I will never know. And honestly, I don't care to know, because we got the problem corrected. No more leaks, customer is happy, vehicle is happy, and that's what matters to me. So be careful who you let work on your car, and pay attention to what kind of parts they're using. Maybe you should ask, hey, what are you throwing into my car? And it may avoid situations like this, because the more and if you ask certain questions towards certain mechanics, they might not play around with you and be like, hey, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this lady knows what she's talking about. And maybe they won't, use the cheapest bottom of the barrel parts on your vehicle. So either way, guys, just want to share this story with everyone. Hopefully you guys found it interesting, because, I run into weird stuff like this a lot, and I don't really show some of this, but I guess I'm going to start recording stuff like this, because it's kind of fun to follow through on these little weird repairs like this that other shops screw up, and I think you guys will like it. So next one I get that's something kooky like this, I will be filming it for everyone. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this video. Comment, like, and subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.